In order to do any real substantial work around employer brand and making sure that your organization is a place that people want to come to work to and candidates aspire to be a part of, is to really get a hold of and understand your employee experience. Because understanding how your employees perceive and feel about your organization is really the only way to get a sense of kind of the realities of working at your organization. It's okay to read reviews. It's okay to kind of get anecdotal evidence around management objectives and then how that trickles down into what it means to work. But really getting firsthand feedback and knowledge from employees is key when it comes to understanding the realities of working at an organization. I think one of the big disconnects that you see, especially with organizations that have less than stellar or below average Glassdoor ratings, is that there's typically a disconnect between what management thinks is happening at the organization in terms of what they strive for in terms of employer brand ideals and their employer value proposition, and what it really is like at the ground level, at the front line of working at the organization. And so closing that gap and making sure that you as management, you as industry leaders, as organizational leaders understand the employee experience then drives really the rest of an employer brand program. And so what we do at Employment Boost is we help organizations through surveys and through other kind of comprehensive ways to get information anonymously, is get employee experience feedback through testing. And the way that we think that it adds value to an organization is that it allows you to focus on really the parts of the hiring process that speak to retention, it speaks to turnover, it speaks to culture. And so, the organizations can often say, okay, we want to become the best place to work in our industry, right? And in building out an employer brand program, you've got to look at so many different steps along the hiring process and then what it means to hang on to employees. And I go back to the initial point, which is only when you have a true sense of what your employees feel and what your employees perceive the organization can you actually make any impact along any other part of the recruitment process. It's also a great area when it comes to employee feedback to look at how strong you are from a competitive standpoint against your industry. And so employee needs are always changing. We saw that disruption or that big change at the onset of COVID and through the last 24 months or so, where there was a real shift in kind of what employees wanted, where it went from what traditionally is the most important part, which is compensation, to flexibility and protection of kind of benefits and things like that, and the safety that they feel at work. Those things became more important for employees through the COVID pandemic. And through a comprehensive employee experience testing program, you can get that feedback to understand, all right, what is it that our staff really appreciates right now? And if you do employee experience testing at a regular interval, you can actually see the shift in the way sentiment is. And you can, as an organization, tailor your benefits offerings or your extracurriculars or different things like that so that you can take care of the well-being of your workforce where they are. And I think that's the key in understanding, a workforce as a collective. Nothing is static, and so a regular program of employee experience testing gets you that information to know. Okay, so we've done this program at the start of 2 years ago. How is it performing now? Has our employees' sentiment around what it's like to work here, what's important to them, shifted, and how can we tailor our programs to appeal to that? And the best organizations that have the best employer brands are typically able to adapt to what the changing needs of the workforce is, and in that way be able to stay on top of their competition. And it answers the very final question, which is how do you get people to come to you versus another organization? That feedback loop is absolutely crucial, and the way you get there is through regular employee experience testing.